Well, good morning, everybody. It's another bright and sunny and beautiful morning here in Tahiti at the Intercontinental Resort, Tahiti. Anyway, it's our second full day. We're going to go explore the west coast of the island of Tahiti. So come along, see what we find today.
Today we are taking advantage of our last day with the Peugeot. We are exploring the west side of Tahiti Nui. Our schedule for the day is to travel south about 45 minutes to the Water Gardens of Vaipahi. After that, we would work our way back to the north, stopping at Source Vaima to look at a few eels, hike into the jungle above Grottes de Mara'a, view the sacred site of Marae Arahurahu before spending a little time along the beach at Mahana Park. All this before turning in the rental car and starting to pack up. Relax on vacation? Not the doobies. Now, driving around Tahiti is very easy, and with the construction sites every 7 to 8 miles, the only real challenge is keeping your eyes on the road and not fixed too long on the spectacular mountain views on one side and the ever-changing blues in the lagoon on the other. On a safety note, our rental car agent had warned us against leaving anything of value in the car whenever we stopped. Her reasoning was all rental cars are very well marked as such, and thus made for an easy mark for petty theft. While I agree with this basic security advice, I have to say we saw no sign of broken window glass in any parking lots that would indicate a major problem with break-ins, and I think the overall risk of even petty theft in Tahiti is pretty low. Okay, so we did find one issue though later in the day on the trip back from the beach to the hotel. If you get a significant issue on a 2-lane road with absolutely no other routes, the backups are long and slow. We sat in traffic about 30 minutes after leaving the beach due to a box truck that lost its axle. Not great for us, but the backup coming towards us south from Papeete at Tahitian rush hour extended 10 miles all the way to the airport. Our transfer driver the next morning said, "My friend, this happens all the time." So paradise isn't perfect, but it's pretty damned good as we move along the road past plantations of coconuts lined along the beach side of the Route des Sentiers. As the road curves back toward the east, we arrive at our first stop, the Water Gardens of Vaipahi. As with most tourist stops on the island, there are well-maintained facilities, the opportunity to shop a bit, and they even had coffee and snacks for purchase. This garden is meticulously cared for, and there is an amazing variety of both native and non-native species.
Okay. This is the Water Gardens. There's a little chicken.
There are also scores of Tahitian alarm clocks roaming the grounds. The centerpiece of the gardens is the Vaipahi waterfall. The Teva tribe believed the waters cascading down had spiritual healing and purification properties. Hikers we saw coming down from the trail, however, were more interested in the boot purification properties of the water. The small beach park across the road from the gardens is set up with picnic tables, and you can bring a meal and eat in close proximity to where the HMS Bounty crew first landed in Tahiti and purportedly enjoyed their first Tahitian meal. I would have mutinied right there on the spot. After exploring the gardens, Danny Doobie and I headed up the loop trail above the waterfall. It was quickly apparent where all that mud from the hiking party came from. There's a grab rope on this section of the trail, and it's worth spending some time surrounded by the heavily canopied forest with the sound of water flowing past. Now, the source of this water is Lake Vaihiria, which is Tahiti's only natural lake. It lies about 10 kilometers inland and is accessible only via ATV or four-wheel drive. And this lake is also the source of one of the best of the Polynesian legends, Hina and the coconut tree. The lake was the legendary home of the Eel King, who had been promised his hand of marriage to the princess with the longest and silkiest hair named Hina. Well, even in those days, 16-year-olds were rebellious, and she found the Eel King too disgusting to marry, so she enlisted the help of a god or demigod to assist her. So here it was either Hiro or Maui who intervened, catching the Eel King and slicing him into 3 pieces. Now, before he died though, the Eel King vowed he would kiss the princess. Maui gave Hina the eel's head wrapped in leaves in a basket with instructions not to place the basket on the ground. Well, it was hot and Hina wanted to go swimming, so she placed the basket on the ground, and when she returned, a tall eel-like tree had grown. And the fruit of that tree was an eel's head with 2 eyes and a mouth, a coconut. During the next dry season, she discovered there was liquid inside coconuts, and the best spot to break into the coconut is around the mouth. So in drinking the first coconut water, the Eel King was kissed by his treacherous princess. And speaking of eels, we had read at Source Vaima, which is a spring from the same source as the water gardens next door, we might find some freshwater eels. Up toward the hillside, there's a deep and cool pool for bathing. Since it was being used by a couple of people, I put the camera away, but it's a beautiful little spot. The only path to the source pool is along a concrete wall, which can be challenging for some. But we did find a lone small eel, and of course, friendly Shun up too.
Hello, puppy.
Say hi, Mike. Can you go for his one?
Next up on our roadside tour is Grottes de Mara'a. About 15 minutes north, we pull into a fairly popular stop featuring several grottos filled with cool, fresh water and surrounded by the lush jungle. The primary grotto is accessible for swimming, but we'll hold on to that thought. Danny Doobie and I had a goal of finding a small path that leads upwards through the forest to a lookout over the lagoon and reefs of Tahiti, which we had found courtesy of other YouTubers. Our goal was to find the wooden and rope swing that extended out over the canopy. Exploring down the primary path along the grottos, we found the trail, a rope extending down from the first segment of a steep and muddy path. Time for a
Doobie Death March.
Leaving Donna Doobie and Grandma behind, we began our climb. About 5 minutes of climbing, and we began to question our sanity. About 10 minutes in, we began itching like crazy. But after about 20 minutes, and the lush tree cover gave way to grasses and amazing views of the lagoon below.
Well, we've been climbing for about 15 solid minutes. I don't know. Not gonna lie, that was one of the roughest things I've ever done.
And what's that I see? It's the... oh, son of a bitch. Our only solace was thinking about the sheer panic that must have happened to the poor bastard that broke that swing. Now, our iPhone altimeter showed the climb up to the lookout was some 550 feet. Hey, just like the Prudential Center. So stupidly, I told Danny Doobie, well, at least going down should be easier. Within 10 minutes, a fist-sized boulder came bounding down the hill at me. It missed. All included, the climb up, a few minutes talking with some French travelers who now live in Vegas, and the scoot down the hill took about 45 minutes, but seemed a lot longer. About halfway down, I realized maybe I should have left the car keys with Don and Doobie. We were filthy, itchy beyond belief, as we had gotten into something or been eaten by something, so our first order of business when we got back down the car was to strip down to swimsuits and plunge into the cool water of the grotto. Much better.
We made it. So we made it.
Yay!
Back in the car and still itching like crazy, we headed to the historical site of Arahurahu Marae. This sacred site, set back amongst the lush green mountains of Tahiti, was meticulously restored in 1953 and was the site of a ceremonial consecration of a supreme chief in 1954 and is used annually each July during the Heva I Tahiti festivals. When visiting any of the Marae in French Polynesia, be mindful that these are sites that are of sacred importance. This site in particular is a wonderful spot to reflect and appreciate the setting and the people who call this wonderful place home. So we had planned one more stop, but remember that itching from our death hike up the mountain? It was reaching a maddening state. Luckily, there seems to be a pharmacy every few kilometers on the belt roads, so Danny Doobie barely got the words itching out of her mouth when the pharmacist pulled out this stuff from the shelf. Not sure what's in it, but almost instantly, we felt relief.
Nice.
Now, the last stop on our exploration of the west side of Tahiti was Mahana Beach Park. Mahana Park was nearly empty this day, had great facilities and a lot of shade. And while Donna and Grandma went to the neighboring restaurant for a burger, Danny and I hit the water. There was a strong current that ran parallel to the beach here, basically from north to south, so it was a great place to try a little drift snorkeling. The current held you for about 150 yards along the beach before petering out just below the restaurant. So we made a couple of passes looking for interesting fish. Found an incredibly colorful wrasse. Other than a few ants, it was very relaxing to sit in the shady grass and watch the thundering waves crashing on the main reef surrounding the island of Tahiti. As I mentioned earlier, that last 18 kilometers back to the hotel was slowed by the broken down truck. But after dropping the ladies off the hotel, it was time to bid adieu to the Peugeot. Quick note on getting gas in Tahiti. Like New Jersey, you stay in the car and an attendant will fill her up for you. Overall, the rental car ended up just being over $100 a day, which isn't too bad when you figure that gives us access to all the sites on the island and also access to more restaurants and groceries. By the time I dropped off the car and walked back to the hotel, it was time for happy hour and another brilliant sunset. I'd love to tell you what happened after that, but after all the heat, hikes, and histamines, I crashed out. It was a great sleep, and I was only thinking about that Dreams of Tahiti cruise that would start in the morning. We're going to see you then. Good night.